This is Lauren.
This is Trey.
And this
is the Partnership Podcast.
Over the weekend, Lauren had an upset stomach. She had a tummy ache, wink, wink. And we talk about how caretaking is the greatest anti-aphrodisiac, which is an Esther Perel quote. Enjoy.
What do you want to talk about today in this tight little podcast?
Should we do a podcast off topic? Should we do a completely off topic?
Let's talk about what we want to do in the podcast.
Should we do a podcast next week and I'll just bring our mics and the Zoom where we do non-video podcast?
Like
we could
in the
totally
midst
do it.
Of like literally in training. Tell the audience what we're going to go do.
We're going to Dr. Betty Martin's Wheel of Consent and 3-Minute Game and probably a bunch of other stuff that I don't know about. But we're doing a workshop, and Dr. Betty Martin's just jump in here, a big time colleague or a big time person in Lauren's space about consensuality and a bunch of other cool stuff. So I get to do the training with her, which I'm stoked on because I get to kind of jump into like mama's profession.
Yeah, he's never done a training like this with me, and sure has learned by proxy, especially on Wheel of Consent, a 3-minute game. Because I'm always talking about it.
Yeah, 3-minute games are the best.
Yeah, and so we're going to a Like a Pro training for 5 days next week. And yeah, it's going to overlap for sure, one of our podcasting mornings. So yeah, we might do an audio-only ep next week. Okay, let's talk about it.
I want to bring the stuff. That sounds really fun to me.
Yeah, well, and we
just knock it out in the morning, and we'll knock it out in the evening. It's going to be great.
Yeah. We could do Wednesday morning for sure. We will have done day one, or we could save it for Thursday.
I'm bringing my laptop so we can upload it. Easy.
Cool beans.
What do you want to talk about?
It's so funny because I was going to talk about like, how are you feeling beforehand? Because I've been reading a lot of the book and kind of just re-immersing myself in this material, and I can't wait. Like, I'm really excited, and I really always say to my clients that we learn the things we're supposed to learn when we're supposed to learn them. And I think it's funny that this is one of my favorite modalities, and I've never taken myself to a professional further training. I was taught it in school, but I never did a thing like this. And it's just funny that I'm doing it now. So I'm kind of curious, like, why now, right? Why is this all falling into place now? And what am I supposed to learn now? I'm just really curious.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We're supposed to learn the things when we're supposed to learn them, and then we take care of the quantity, and then the quality gets figured out, right? I'm having to reassure myself of that right now.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
In Artist's Way, this is the book that Trey's referencing. Julia Cameron has this incredible quote in the beginning in her like beginning artist principles. That's we take care of the quantity, the creator or universe, whatever you believe, takes care of the quality. That when you're practicing anything, and I want to push in on what you're saying and frustrated about, it can be really hard because in our culture, often worth is determined by doing something well, something getting noticed by someone, numbers on a page, amount of hits or lack of hits it takes to get a golf ball in a hole. When Julia Cameron challenges us to enjoy the process as much as the outcome. And if we truly love something and we feel called to do it because the world needs us loving what we do. And that we get to determine that. We get to determine how much joy we suck out of things. We get to determine the quantity, the investment we make in something. We don't get to determine the outcome. And to become attached to the outcome is to set ourselves up for disappointment. Because you can't choose who's going to, you can't choose when someone's going to pick your work to put it in a gallery, or if they ever will. I can't choose who is going to find me as a client, who's going to reach out when. I can't. But I can take care of continuing to learn more information, the quantity, and putting out there to the world how excited I am about it on a podcast. Yeah, but you want to share what's kind of frustrating you? Because I think I've heard feedback from multiple sources that your golf journey has been very reassuring for folks who are also trying to learn new things in their lives.
I just feel like with certain clubs, like driving clubs, driver is my most difficult club, and I feel like right now I'm going backwards. So, yeah, it's just what it is. And I'm losing so many balls. Like, it's laughable.
Yeah.
and it's not the money. It's more of like I'm not taking care of my responsibility. It's something deeper than that. It's weird.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you're not. It's almost like being responsible to care for something else,
Yes.
like a pet maybe.
Yep.
So in my mind, it's like you shouldn't even be out here. It's weird.
Yeah, you said that the other day. I thought that was really beautiful noticing that you did. And I invite you to get curious about it instead of calling it weird, because I think it is a part of your tender nature. It's how you care for things. It's why you care so much for our sewer caddy who adopted us with this house, and why you care for the crows and why you care for everything else. It's just a part of you. And that was really curious, because I think it wouldn't frustrate as many people to lose balls, or it would frustrate them for something else. But the fact that you were like, it feels like I'm being a poor caretaker, that I've been entrusted with something and that I keep losing them, I think is interesting.
Yeah.
And you get to be interested about it. I don't know if you get an answer. I had what you think is a hangover, what other people are like, I don't know, I think you had a 12-hour stomach bug. I had something on Sunday where, gentle audience, sorry, TMI, but I vomited all day long.
She was hungover.
Trey's convinced it was a hangover.
Yeah, Lauren's like, oh, no, it must have been like a stomach bug or a food thing. It's like, baby, when the room spins when you're trying to go to bed,
It's a hangover.
that's not a stomach bug.
The reason it's so surprising to me is I had a couple glasses of wine and a margarita. Not
She
even a
was mixing.
margarita.
She was mixing.
Yeah, and so I didn't feel like I drank copious amounts of alcohol, so it just kind of came out of nowhere. All that to say, it did what it did. What was most interesting to me is the work that I've done was allowing me to really tune into my parasympathetic nervous system while this was going on, and my fight and flight responses. And one of the responses that kept coming up is, I am totally neglected. I am all alone. I was horrified. Thank you for those times that you came in the room and like gave me reassurance. I was having full-blown panic attacks too during the whole thing. And I allowed myself this time, this is why I bring it up, to just get curious at the level of sensation, to go, what is this attached to, right? Like what is this? And then I had a massage the next day, and shout out to our wonderful massage therapist. She kind of put her hand on my belly, right? The thing that had been vomiting so profusely. And she said the word that just kept coming up for her was neglect, and that I needed to know that this was a lie. And in my personal story, I have umpteen instances of neglect, being neglected. And I think this personal narrative that I've attached myself to is, I am resilient. I can overcome, right? I can do these things. But it really sucks when you have to be the one asking for help. Mm-hmm. And when I was little and asked for help, and then when it was in my abusive marriage, when I asked for help, I couldn't get it, right? This was not something I could get. And so when I'm in a place of helplessness, like something like the purge that I went through, all of those things are activated again. And it was really interesting to sit with my nervous system and say, hey, I know why you're feeling like this. And you get compassion for that. And look, Trey's right here, right? Look, Trey keeps showing up. Look, you can ask for help. If you need more help, you can ask for help. But it was wild. The panic was, and I was trying to tell you this, I think, later that day or the next day, it was less about, oh, I'm going to vomit again. More about, I am all alone in the world. It was insane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lauren spent her whole Sunday. She woke up in like good energy.
I had 100% sleep score. I mean, that's the wildest thing.
So she spent her whole Sunday just puking up anything that she would. She tried to do charcoal and some aspirin in the morning with coffee, threw all of that up, went back to bed, threw up saltines, water, anything she would try to put in herself, threw up. And me being the veteran, now I'm the expert in this household as far as being violently hungover. I have years more experience than my beloved wife.
Who, this is like third time in my life that this has ever happened.
Yeah, and probably the worst one, yeah?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So welcome to fun time, where I knew that the timeline for this type of hangover is like you'll start feeling maybe better around 4 o'clock.
He kept saying
afternoon.
4 p.m. He said this, y'all, at 7:30 a.m. Trey goes, okay, babe, 4 p.m.
Yeah, where you need to basically sleep and drink small amounts of water and then try to get like a small amount of food, but nothing was holding down. And so what? Like a lot of back rubs, a lot of scratches, check-in periodically. But like when 4:30 rolled around, you were still in bed, and I was like, okay, babe, we got to get you up and moving. Like you can't be in bed anymore. And she was scared to get up, and rightfully so. But we finally started moving around. Finally got liquids, like change of venue, or we went downstairs. You sat down in the kitchen. And so we finally started getting little bits and pieces. In like, what, 6 you had an appetite?
6 or 7. Do you remember I said, like,
I have an
I feel
appetite.
I feel hunger.
Because we were just trying stuff out.
And
grapes,
I could still only eat, like
little stuff.
smallest of stuff that like melted in my mouth type of thing.
It was starting to get a little dangerous though, where it was like, I think we were pushing 18 hours of you not having any fluids, or like the opposite of like, you got fucking nothing. And then I saw some bile get thrown up. Bile looks like, if you're not, oh, gentle audience, if you're not familiar with bile, it looks like egg yolk. And that is the lining of your stomach you're throwing up. And I got a story, 18 years old, involved, AAA hockey, dollar beer night, and wild turkey. Let's not get into it though. So, yeah, once she was throwing up bile, I was like, all right, let's get this lady up and moving. So, yeah, you got through it though.
You took such good care of me.
Thank you.
Does that irritate you at all? I think I also have incredible trauma. I was married to an alcoholic.
Uh-huh.
And so to be that person to someone,
I get that. I totally get that. And
I feel like such a burden.
And also, like, I had a long-term relation with a woman that would disassociate with a shit ton of alcohol. So no, I didn't feel like the night before, I didn't feel like you drank to excess. I feel like this thing fucking snuck up on you. And my theory is that you just mixed a bunch of booze together. You mixed kombucha with a bunch of different types of wines. I know they're all white, but there are different types. And then you hit the tequila at the end of the night, and tequila was strong. I know you had a couple of sips, but sometimes that's what does it. So it kind of snuck up on you, honey. And you're also allowed to, on a Saturday going into a Sunday, drink a bunch.
Yeah.
You're allowed to.
I'm sorry, and thank you for taking care of me.
Whatever.
So it was
not triggering at all. What was brutal honesty, it was the Tuesday where when I came back to the house, it was Monday. It was Monday where, because Sunday for me was caretaking for you and then also caretaking for the house. Mm-hmm. Where I had a lot of tasks, either around going to the store. I think I went to the two grocery stores, taking care of home stuff, taking care of laundry, all this, while taking care of you. So my ability to take care of you was gone on Monday, where it's like, okay, she's back to normal. And I didn't tell you this, but what was like triggering was, hey, can you go get me a LaCroix when you asked me for that when you were outside reading? Huh. And I didn't say this at the time, but I was like, I don't have capacity for this anymore. Like, you're back on your feet. I need help from you now. And I even said that because I sent you a sexy text message. But then when I got home, I was not in like a sexy mood at all, or like I didn't want to devour you. What I really wanted was help making the bed, help doing the laundry, help like taking out the trash, prepping coffee. I wanted acts of service, or I at least wanted things taken off of my plate. What is it? The greatest or the most the antidote or the...
caretaking is the greatest anti-aphrodisiac.
Yes, anti-aphrodisiac. So like, and I even checked in with myself over like the thought of sex was like, no. No, it's like another thing I'd have to do for you.
Ding, ding.
So that was very interesting to me. And then I hope I handled it well, where it was instead of like going to tallying, I just go, babe, because you asked me like, hey, what do you need? Checking in with you. What do you need? I go, honey, I just need help. I need help on like with just tasks around the house because I was spent.
Yeah.
It was also, it was a day of It was like 5 or 6 hours of golf too. It was Labor Day.
And you had felt behind. You had some work stuff.
I felt behind. I had some work stuff, and then played awful.
Yeah.
But played with a guy that I'd never met before. Had a ball with him. We exchanged numbers. But it was the focus of the worst thing a golfer can be is not pleasant to play with. You can be really good. You can be really shitty. But you can't be not pleasant to play with. And I fought that too. And then I fought, my mood cannot be affected by a game. I'm not a professional. I'm an amateur and I suck. So it can't be, I cannot take this amateur hobby, passion of mine. I can't let it affect my mood. So all of those things were kind of compounding on me. And instead of I wanted to reroute. I didn't want to go to isolation. I didn't want to go to tallying. I just wanted to ask for help. And babe, guess who stepped up to the motherfucking plate? You did. We knocked out a bunch of stuff. It took us like 30 minutes. And what did we do after that?
Great sex.
We fucked the shit out of each other.
Well, let's rewind because this is so beautiful. You're going to have a whole bunch of this education next week, so can't wait for us to do part 2. This could just be part 1 because this is such a good segue into this work. You reached your limits. You reached your edges.
I reached my fucking limits.
Of service.
I didn't want to caretake anymore for myself,
Yeah.
for anybody else,
Yeah.
for this house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also then golf compounded it because then you were in enduring and tolerating.
Yeah.
And you did a great job, but we can only take so much of that. We can only take so much of, like this kind of being beaten down by a sport that we love. And then trying to brace yourself against the emotional impacts of it because you try so hard not to bring that home to me. You do. Yeah. I was kind of shocked. You were supposed to be home at noon, you had told me, and I guess you chose to play longer.
I ended up playing another 9 with a guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
I got there at like 7.
Yeah. And
Left at 2.
then you had some work stuff. It was just a bunch of things. We still have 17 minutes. Yeah. And you had reached your limits and you had reached your capacity. You had no more capacity because, you sent me a text in the morning that was like, what sounds juicy to you? Can we arrange? Because you knew we had like 2 more days without the baby.
Yeah, I sent her a really hot text message.
You did. So that's where and most of the time, oh, gentle audience, when Trey says that, he follows through on that. You really don't. The game of golf doesn't really usually do come home like still wanting to follow through on plans. But I knew something must be off because you came out like, as my phone, we had like a phone thing. You needed my phone for something.
Yes.
And then you got frustrated at that. And I was like, oh, something's off. But I also, if you had checked in on resiliency at that point, was maybe a 1. Like mine. I don't know what yours was. Yeah. So we were both really low resiliency. People had invited me to do things because it was Labor Day. I was like, y'all, I can't. Like all I have capacity for is to sit and to read. And I think that's what I need to do in order to hit the ground running with my week next week. Because I wanted to. It's all things I want to do. So I had literally like just gotten out there. So it was just funny, right? And I could tell, and this is just where it's so beautiful, is that I know from experience and from modalities now that it's not my job to be like, Trey, are you okay? Trey, are you okay? Right? It's Trey's job to notice, trust, and value what he's feeling. And so I finished reading my book. You had said something about you wanted a cold shower. You'd wanted to work out. I asked you earlier, like, what do you need now? I didn't know that about bringing the seltzer water, but it is interesting, isn't it? When we're outside of our limits, the most the things that on any other day we would be like joyful to do, like, oh, always ask me for a seltzer water if you want one.
It's like the previous day I massaged your head multiple times. Get your own goddamn seltzer water.
Right? Isn't it so funny how it will just tip us over?
I was a 5-star waiter the other day while you were throwing up in a bowl. Get your own goddamn seltzer water.
Right? It's so interesting. So fascinating. Because you're not a person who's tit for tat, right? And you're also not a person who's like, I massaged your head for hours yesterday. What are you going to do for me now?
No, but I am a tallier.
You are a tallier.
I am a tallier. Yeah.
And I can't wait for you to learn about this, right? These are all learned behaviors. And when again, being outside of our limits is a dangerous place to be. So yeah, I came back in after finishing my book and could just sense your resiliency. And so asked our favorite question, how can I support you? What do you need? What's your hierarchy? And you said, I feel behind, which is pretty much code for Trey just can feel the list of things that needs to get done. And it feels like more than he has capacity for. And then you boldly asked for help. And I was like, absolutely, let's go do that now. And it's such a joy in my head because I can giggle at the list of things that he's saying that are insurmountable. I'm like, that's...
Well, it's not insurmountable. It just needs to get done.
Yeah, but I know the feeling, right?
And boy, oh boy, is it so much easier with another person.
With another person.
Like we were messing with the bed.
It's so oh
much
my
easier.
God. What could have been an hour-long task or 30-minute long task was probably like 15.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and what's so beautiful, tell me how it felt to ask for the help that you actually needed and wanted and to get it.
It was literally, my mind was, as we were kind of knocking off all this stuff, it was like, I feel better. This feels good. I feel more connected with Lauren. And then it literally opens up space for me to be turned on by you. And this was 24 hours later, you're hugging a toilet.
Yeah. Do you know how last time on the podcast you said, I struggle with receiving?
Yeah.
That's receiving, baby. What you did is thinking about what you really want and asking for it.
Are you saying I'm a hero?
I'm saying you learned a big lesson. That's what I'm saying. Is that it feels really good to get the things we want.
Yeah.
It feels really good to get to be asked what it is that we want. And then to get to be very specific. I think the bed is a perfect example because you had a specific way that you wanted this done. If I had just done the bed, it most likely would without you, right? If I'd been like, oh, I'll take care of it. You would have been like, no, thank you. Like I want specific help, right? You got to be very specific about the help that you wanted. And then I got to listen carefully to you and then do it with you, hear you, give you a gift. And you got to be accepting of the gift. And it is a skill, acceptance, that not many of us are good at, like, doing, honestly, like sitting in acceptance, because it takes the voicing, it takes the choosing what it is that we want first. And I found it really beautiful that you could do that. Do you remember too, when you had tossed me the ball earlier in the day of what sounds sexy, I had said, what sounds really wonderful is some pho broth, Vietnamese pho, because it is so healing to the nervous system, and I needed to my gut as well. And so you had said when I came inside, you were like, I don't really think I want that anymore. And I said, I do. I've been thinking about it all day. And I noticed in my body that I was like, it doesn't matter if he does or not. I will get it for myself because this is something that I need. And I didn't devalue my own want in that moment. And I think that's also important, that it's my job to know what's really important to me. And it's okay if you don't want to share in that with me. It's my responsibility. And I'd been looking forward to that all day. Now, the thing that was us that we would share, the sexual experience that we had also talked about, that could be put on pause because I can't force your body to do anything. But the needs, wants, and desires that I have, those are important too. And we both stood true in those. Yeah, so we made the bed. We did all the laundry. We ordered pho on DoorDash. And then while it was arriving, we played a 5-minute game. We stretched it. And I put on peaceful music on the TV. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And it was just hot and, healing. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's see where we're at.
Yeah. We got 5 minutes.
We got 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to say something? Let's follow up.
No.
Yeah. I think this is a great little wrap up. Let's call this part 1. So I'll release this to the public on the Mondays. So y'all get this. You'll be hearing this on the day that we're traveling up to DC. And then we'll podcast midway through the week. And so you'll hear the next installation of this post us going to the Wheel of Consent training with Carmen and Rosalind, who are both, work for Wheel of Consent and our close cohorts of Dr. Betty Martin. And I can't wait. We're going to be immersed in this material for 3 days for ourselves and then 2 days as professionals. And it should be really interesting. It really should be. So who knows if there'll be like 3-minute game workshops on our horizon or something that comes out of this. But it's, as everybody knows, it's been a game that's really been life-changing to us. And so I can't wait. Like, of all things for us to get certified in, this makes the most sense in the world. Yeah. I love you.
Love you too.
Thanks for asking for help.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. It's so much more fun than being tallied against.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. Just to hear me say that, like, for you to open yourself up and vulnerably ask for help it gives me so much more agency. So thanks for coming to this abbreviated part 1 of our Wheel of Consent journey. Remember, these are our opinions, our lived experiences, all that kind of jazz. You have a right to informed decision-making and self-determination. If you want to learn more about Wheel of Consent or all of this stuff we've been talking about today, go to sexedforyou.com/free consult. Have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.